3 times life brought me to my knees. 3 times. The first time was in a jail cell. I was in that jail cell wondering, how did I get here? I'm a good Indian girl, or at least I tried to be, kind of a rebel Indian girl, you know. So, mostly pretty good. And I'm looking up, I'm on my knees, I'm looking up, saying, how did I get here? And looking up to God, not believing in God, really, because I'm in a jail cell. And I start thinking about my parents. I'm feeling a lot of shame. My face is very hot. Like, I love my parents so much. I was supposed to make them proud of me. And they are immigrants. They came to this country so I could stand on their shoulders and rise higher. And now here I am in a jail cell. And a memory flashes into my mind of my father. And him, it's really a look at, well, what is the meaning of life? And thinking about my father always talking about these things. And he used to say, there are 4 aims of life in Hinduism, which is the religion or way of life that I come from. And they're about how to be successful and happy and fulfilled. And he would ask me, my cousins, grandchildren, what are the 4 aims of life? What are they? And I very proudly, because I like to memorize things and I'm a good student and I loved Hinduism. It's like, Dharam, Arth, Kam, and Moksha. And, it was like a refrain. And this is reverberating through my body. And, in the West, you say dharma. Right? So maybe you've heard that word. Dharma means your purpose. And I realized inside that jail cell how off purpose I had been and how that had gotten me here to this place. I had this other memory about, I started reflecting on purpose. I had this other memory of being in middle school. My dad is a very unusual Indian doctor in that he loves personal growth. So I was reading Napoleon Hill and reading Wayne Dyer, and then he took me to this conference where I saw motivational speakers for the first time. And it was so exciting. I don't even remember who I saw, but there was an energy that I felt of like, I want to do that. That seems like a great career. And it was then that I actually started to think about career. As an Indian kid, most of us had 2 choices, medicine and engineering. Me, I was lucky. My parents are both doctors, but they didn't try and make me be a doctor, even though I was good at science and math. But thank God they did not force me to do that. But my other 2 choices were business and law. So, motivational speaker, forget that. That's not a career. You can't really make money doing that. And that's what I believed, what my family believed. So I went on and I studied business. I got into one of the best business schools in the country. And my parents were very proud. I'm in an econ class learning. I'm very excited to be learning. And I felt a sinking in my stomach as I'm watching that professor, thinking, oh my God, I have to do this for 4 years. This is not exciting. This is not what I came here to do. But I pushed the feelings down. Again, like I had as a little girl, those feelings of wanting to be a motivational speaker pushed those feelings down into my body. Because that's not who I was supposed to be. And I was trying to be a good girl. So I buckled down and I went, I did the best I could. I took as many liberal arts classes as I could. And I ended up, in my junior year, I was watching, so I'm taking all these liberal arts classes, falling in love with religious studies, falling in love with positive psychology. And I'm watching all my white friends change majors and change back and forth between schools. And, I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe I can do that. So I called my parents on the phone, very excited. Like, I want to change. I want to leave the business school. I want to study positive psychology and religious studies. And I could feel it on the other end. They were not happy with this conversation. They were paying for me to go to the Wharton School of Business. They were not paying for me to get a liberal arts degree. And so they said that to me. And they said, how are you going to make a living doing that? So again, I pushed those feelings down. And, I agreed with them in my head. I wasn't in my body. I was in my head. What they said made a lot of sense. Practicality, stability. They're an immigrant family. They grew up poor. Makes a lot of sense to have, like even today, if I wanted to get a job as a lawyer, I can, right? So I pushed the feelings down and got into law school, and I even enjoyed some of my corporate legal career negotiating technology contracts. I got to a place where all those feelings that I had pushed down started to surface. I didn't want to cut off from them any longer, and I tried to pursue a dream, and it didn't work out. And then I was supposed to be going back to a legal job. I did not want to go back to a legal job after trying to pursue this dream that I had of coaching. And I was going back to this legal job, and I was at a party in Manhattan, and I drank to numb that pain. And I had a pattern of binge drinking to numb, to not feel, to all these feelings that I'd been pushing down. And I drank too much at that party, and I drove, and I got into an accident, and I ran a red light. I got lost in Manhattan. I was going back to New Jersey. I ran a red light, and I hit another car. That car was totaled. My car was totaled. And by some miracle, nobody was hurt. But I knew in that moment that I had to change everything. So in that moment, down on my knees in that jail cell that night, because I spent that night in jail, I decided that I was never going to live a life that was away from my Dharma, and I set out to find out what that Dharma was. And then things actually got a lot better. Now you would think it was hard because I felt, there were all these voices. I'm bad, I'm crazy, I got a DUI, I spent a night in jail. Lots of voices. But I was doing a lot of transformational work. And actually, thanks to a woman in this audience, she had introduced me to a series, and I listened to this interview series. Thank you, Divine. And so I started to transform those beliefs, and I started a business using my legal and business background to support other women running their businesses. And I loved it. It was incredible. I put my full heart into it, and I was working harder than I'd ever worked in my life before because I loved my work. And I love my son. I'm a mom. I have a child who's now 15. That time he was younger. But I put a lot of effort into being a mom. And I found myself in this place I was running this online event, 8-week online event. Thousands of women are coming. This is January of 2013. The accident was in June of 2010. I forgot to tell you that. So this is several years later. I'm running this online event. Very excited, but depleted, because I poured everything that I have into this event and being a mom. my son, my baby, my adorable son gets a concussion right at the beginning of the event. And of course, I gave all of my energy. I did only what needed to be done, gave all my energy to making sure he got the care he needed. He was home with me for the entire event, and so it was a really, really difficult period. And there was a night, the week after he got the concussion, where I had to give 3 talks the next day on my event, teach a class for the Shift Network, and be interviewed for another event. And it was supposed to be this very exciting day in my business. What ends up happening is I'm down on my knees again in the dining room this time, crying tears of overwhelm because I have nothing left to give. And we've heard about that, during this event, women getting to that point of depletion. Several of my amazing sisters have talked about this. So I was depleted. And I realized, as I reflected on this later, that I was out of alignment now with another one of the aims of life that my dad had shared with me, the Vedic wisdom. This time it was kama. This time it was pleasure. And I see pleasure as including, or for me, the pathway into my pleasure was actually through putting self-care first. So I made a decision after that moment on my knees that I was never again going to put myself last, that I was going to start taking better care of myself. And this took time because I'm type A, I was very in my head. I ran my business from my head and not in an embodied enough way. So over the next several years, I spent time tuning into doing meditation, developing a great morning practice, pulling goddess cards. And sometimes I'd feel so guilty, like I'm spending this time in the morning, I should go straight to work. But over time, I started to carve that time out for myself, what I call a daily nirvana practice. So this was beautiful. And now I'm taking better care of myself slowly. And I'm feeling like it's time now to take my business to the next level, to pursue artha through my business, pursue wealth. So I was at 6 figures, thinking so much talk of 7 figures, and I'm very ambitious, right? So like, I can do that. So I hire a coach, and I do what she tells me to do. And some of it was awesome. I created a great program, and lots of women joined the program, and it was a beautiful program. But there were all of these things that I was required to do along the way, that the strategies that didn't align for me, they were cookie cutter strategies, like we've also talked about. And they weren't me. They didn't feel good in my body. But we already know I'm very good at cutting off. So I had cut off. So I found myself down on my knees again, here in Sedona, actually in Casey Baker's backyard. She was the one who was to bring me back to my own knowing. And this time, we already talked, it was about artha. It was about pursuing wealth through my knowing, through my intuition. And this time I made another decision on my knees. And the decision was that I would never substitute anyone else's knowing over my own knowing. And this is such a beautiful place to arrive at. It also seemed kind of crazy because it worked to do the practical things the way people are told, had told me all my life to do them. The strategies I'd used that year worked. So it seemed really crazy. And then the things that my intuition would tell me were really crazy. I'm wondering if any of you have experienced this. It's just like, what? I'm supposed to do what? But I was really thrilled to then find a quote by Einstein. I was really thrilled to find that Einstein actually agreed with me, so I felt a little less crazy. Einstein said that our intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and our rational mind is a servant to that gift. But we have created a society inside which we honor the servant and have forgotten the gift. Really profound, and so relieved to know that this is what Einstein believed too. So, what is it that can drop us in to our intuitive knowing? How do we find this place of our intuitive knowing? And I call this place inside us a place of infinite flow. And this leads us into the fourth aim of life, which is moksha, or spiritual liberation. So when we are in this state of infinite flow, and for each of us, there's something different that is preventing us from dropping into this place. Different, and it was different for me several years ago than it is now, right? So there's a different daily nirvana practice that's going to serve you today and that did a couple years ago. So start thinking about what that might be for you, what your evolving edge is. At that time for me, it was slowing down, tuning in, doing my yoga and meditation. Now it's something different. Now I'm actually realizing that for me to be in this state of infinite flow, it's time, the weight has served its purpose, and it's time to release it. Because that's, what's going to drop me into this place further. So what is that for you? What is it that you are aware of? What is it that you might be ignoring or pushing down or pushing away? Because for each of us, there's usually something. What is that for you? And if you were to allow that into your knowing, into your awareness, into your life, that it would change everything for you. Or if not everything, something little, and then that could open to changing everything. So once we start following the intuition in this way, it opens us up to then this infinite flow with the universe, where the energy of the universe is flowing into us, and we are flowing back with that energy of the universe. And, you may not have had dramatic moments in your life where you were dropped to your knees like I was, because I was literally on my knees 3 times. We all have those moments, those choice points. And we, inside of those moments, what we drop into, what we choose is really important. And to choose from your embodied knowing, from your embodied awareness. Even if you haven't had the dramatic experience of being dropped to your knees, there are those moments for each of us. And I believe that as women like you continue to drop into your knowing and continue to drop into your state of infinite flow, that this is what is going to shift the world, change the world. And it's not just women, men too, for them to drop into this place. In the side of this place, there isn't hate, there isn't war, there isn't separation between people. When we are in that state of infinite flow, we are also in the state of infinite flow with others and with the earth. Thank you.